Coming up on Smash That Glass. But I think if my neighbours heard, they might think it was a different type of power tool that was on the go.
It's gone! It has the juice, it has the juice. Can't imagine a more beautiful thing.
You gotta fight your Battenberg.
Welcome to Smash That Glass, a celebration of the women that get shit done in music, entertainment, pop culture and history. I'm your host, Candy Machine, and I'm here with AcidxPearl.
Oi oi!
Jupiter Storm.
Savaloy!
And SuperNattyCat.
Hello.
Hello, how have we all been?
Good, finally. It's, Christmas is over and done with and we're in the new year.
It's a new year! How's it 2023 already?
Actual January.
Loads of witchy stuff has happened to me.
Ooh.
Go on.
I was outside and I was doing something. I was keeping myself busy and suddenly a big crow was above me in the tree. It cawked really, really loudly and I was like, oh, it caught my attention. As it caught my attention, I looked up and I saw this big fat bird. This really dark bird. Suddenly looked down and there was a black cat running towards me and I went, oh, I'm a witch.
Oh, no.
Snow White.
Yeah, were they helping you do your bathroom?
Do my bathroom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Disney pets.
Oh,
Disney
right,
animals
clean.
that help you do your washing up and stuff.
No, it's our neighbour's cat. We don't know its name, but we call him Sexy Black Cat. And yeah, he was just running through our garden like he usually does, probably just shit in our bushes.
So I'm not allowed to call it a New Year's resolution according to my therapist. So my not New Year's resolution was to give my flat a massive clean. And I've done my bathroom today. It's sparkling, but I got this new tool and I'm so excited. And
Wait. Is the toilet fixed?
no, don't be daft. But that is on the agenda, though. That is on the agenda.
It's so on the agenda.
Actually, it was nice to go away and have a fully working toilet. I came back and I've been absolutely slumming it.
I feel like now you've had that luxury, you've got
can't
no
live without.
excuse.
Once you go flush, you don't go
No flush.
No flush. Anyway, that didn't work. But my bathroom's absolutely sparkling. I've got a new tool. I treated myself over Christmas. And I keep wanting to say it's a sonic screwdriver, but it's not. It's my sonic scrubber. And it's basically just like a giant electric toothbrush. It is amazing. My grouting has never sparkled as much. Although it is quite loud. I think if my neighbours heard, they might think it was a different type of power tool that was on the go.
Best thing for cleaning a bathroom, in my opinion, is cream cleaner. I hated it when I was a kid. My mum always bought it. I thought it was really old-fashioned. We always had to do the cleaning in my house, I hated using it. It was really messy, but it is that and the pink stuff.
The pink stuff. I've got the pink
stuff.
stuff.
I like the pink stuff. Honestly, this is so sad. I get so excited.
It leaves like a chalky residue afterwards, so you've got to rinse properly.
Well, see, this is where the sonic screwdriver comes in, because you get that electric toothbrush and it gets all the grouting, and then you give it a wash down. Fucking absolutely sparkling.
And also, it can double up for when you're walking around Disney.
Oh, yeah, so
we came up with an invention.
And you'll notice it next time. If you're ever walking around, AcidxPearl and I were walking around Disney on the most date-like not date that we've ever been on. She proposed to me as well during the fireworks.
I actually proposed at the Star Wars fireworks. Her favourite Star Wars.
Made a ring out of tissue and
little
everything.
wrapper.
It looked like a little onion ring. But anyway, you know when you've been it's quite a warm day and you've been walking around for a while and you get the old bum sting, you just got
you just want to have a little
itchy bum when you're walking around. Now, what you need is a toothbrush. That is going to scratch that itch perfectly. Get the arse brush.
So you don't just give yourself a wedgie and let that deal with it?
No, because that doesn't cut it.
It don't get it.
It's not. You really have to get up there. That's a deep itch. So yeah, I guess the sonic scrubber will, although I probably wouldn't recommend it because I wouldn't recommend it for cleaning your teeth either. It's quite powerful.
I really want a demonstration. You're gonna have to send me one.
Oh, I will. Honestly, I'm proud to show off this sonic screwdriver.
Amazing.
Absolute bee's knees. But yeah. Other than that, like resolution wise, I'm really good. Like at the beginning of the year, I'm really good at making resolutions and thinking, yeah, I'll stick to it. And by the time February comes round, even if it's something that I'm enjoying, I'm just not. I just don't do it, and I don't know why I always drop off. So if anyone's got like a cure for not dropping off your, has anyone had a successful resolution ever?
No.
I need to know the trick. But
I feel like I want to say it's like don't be too hard on yourself, isn't it? But then I've already given up as soon as I said that.
well, that's the
Just
thing.
be kind
Like,
to yeah.
maybe be more hard on yourself.
Be more. That's our problem, isn't it?
Maybe that's the issue. But I did. Well, no, I did. This is not true. I did not come up with this. I came up in joint with this with my therapist. Yes, I'm one of those people now. I see a therapist, but because he's about my age, and he is also a gamer. So, which is perfect because he kind of understands where I'm coming from. And we came up with a system which I've put into place this year. And every day, and I've fine-tuned this, I want to say, he just came up with a suggestion. I'd done the legwork on this one. Every day I've got, it's like a to-do list. So my to-do list for the day is side quests. And then throughout the year, I've got my main quest. So what I'm doing is, for every side quest that I do, and my side quest today was clean the bathroom, pick up something, go drop some boxes, boring stuff, and I get 10 XP for checking those off. And I've got it on my phone so I can actually check it off, because it gives you a little dopamine fix when you just check something off a list. And then, so that's 10 XP each. And then my main quest would be something like carry on learning 3D or do something crafty, because what I want to do really is learn 3D like I started last year, and I was quite successful at it last year. But for whatever reason, I dropped off it. And I think what that was because I took on a project that I really enjoyed. No, that's not true. I really enjoyed the end result because I got it done. But getting there was a slog, and I learned a lot, but I also learned that it was a lot more difficult than I'd thought. And I saw a really good graph online as well, and it started off like, when you're learning something, I know nothing about this, and then you learn a little bit, I know everything about this, and then you learn a little bit more, you go right back to the bottom again. It's like, I think there's a little bit more to this than I initially thought. So it was a case of that, and yeah, I just dropped off for no reason, and I could all I needed to do really was to go back and do something simpler, and I would have got my mojo back with it. But I didn't. I just sort of dropped off it. So I really want to carry on with the 3D and learning that. So that's my main quest. So like, to get more XP, I'm going to try and do something maybe for a couple of hours on my main quest every evening. But the way I'm doing it is for every 10 XP, I'm giving myself 50p to put towards a 3D printer. So today, with my jobs I said before, so what have we got? 20, 40, 50. I've got 60 XP, so I've got £3 to put towards my 3D printer. So that's
such a good idea.
Yeah, so that's I'm trying to kind of figure it out in my head. So you've got like the little dopamine fix as you're doing things that you really should be doing because I'm a fucking adult.
I might have to use that one myself, to be fair. But this is why I don't want to go to therapy. Because no, I just don't want to do it. I just can't help myself. I'm so bad. But I totally get like the hobby thing, like just everything. I have like literally just drawers full of hobbies. And I just start, but I don't want to start doing the little things. I want to make this thing, you know. Like I started crocheting, and I'm like, I don't want to do squares. I want to make a dog hat. I want to make so many hats for my dogs, and then I can't do it, and then I just lose interest.
I think the trouble is though on YouTube, it's you see the successful attempts, and you see it takes, you know, you see not a watered down, like a compressed video, and you see the final image in a half an hour. What you don't see is them fucking it up 15 times a row, or putting it away for 3 weeks and not even looking at it. You just see the final video and you think, well, that's easy, they did it with no problems, and you just don't see the stress and toil that goes into it. And I think you just have to be patient, don't you? And it's hard to be patient when you see videos online of them getting everything right. But you just have to remember they've probably fucked it. They wouldn't be able to do it as easily as they do if they hadn't fucked up. Like on this country, the great Mr. Kipling wouldn't have got his French fancies without first fucking up his Battenberg.
Which is so true, but it is so hard when you're in that mindset and you see like this great everything great and you're like,
you gotta fuck up your Battenberg first.
Yeah, you gotta fuck your Battenberg, not literally.
Don't fuck the Battenberg.
You have to.
Pip, do you have any not resolutions but that are resolutions?
I'd say this year is probably my first year in a very, very long time that I've decided not to have one. I know what I want to do with the year. I know what I want to achieve, but I'm not putting a resolution on it because what I find is it's one of those things where you've got your resolution, but as soon as you fall off it, people go, oh, well, it's broken now. And I'm off it and I don't have to get back on it. It's like a wagon that leaves without you if you fall off it.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do is shift my mindset from the kind of on-off mindset. I'm trying to get healthy, lose weight, tackle some eating issues that I've got, and just generally live a healthier, happier life. And in doing that, I'm find myself kind of having this mentality of, you know, I'm going to eat really healthy, I'm going to do lots of exercise, I'm going to, you know, stop snacking this stuff and put this in and you just make all these promises in your head to completely overhaul the way that you live. You know, I'm terrible, I don't have breakfast, that kind of stuff. And you make all of these high expectations, and then as soon as you don't succeed with all of those high expectations, everything goes to shit. And you just go, oh, well, I'm not going to bother, I can't seem to stick to it. And it just, you end up carrying this big rucksack of guilt because you keep failing or you keep not meeting these incredibly high expectations that you put for yourself. So instead of it being like, I'm on the wagon, I'm off the wagon, I'm trying to think of it as each good decision is one step forward, each bad decision is one step back.
Well, that was a really good way of putting it, as you said before, like the wagon doesn't roll off without you just because you fall off. Like, that's a really, really good way of thinking about it, because it is easily, well, I fucked up now, so there's no point carrying on. When actually, just give yourself a few days and then get back to it. And what have you lost? A couple of days?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I also go to a therapist, and it's all very new as well, past like 2 months. But something that's really stuck with me is we were talking about child brain, adult brain, parent brain.
That's exactly
and
what we talk about.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common for therapists. They like talking about it, but I often have that in my head. So if I'm struggling with something, say if I have a bad day, maybe I've had a stressful day at work, and I reach for the vices that, you know, I tend to reach for to make me feel comfortable after a long day, either to soothe me, calm me, distract me, or indulge me. Those are my vices after a hard day at work. And what I'm trying to do on those days is my child brain wants it. That, you know, she wants that vice. My parent is saying, no, it's a school night, you can't have that. Or, no, you're going to be off the diet, and then, you know, it all goes to shit. That's my parent brain just going, no, you can't have it, no, you can't have it. And my adult brain going, okay, it was a really stressful day. It's still right at the beginning of the new year. And I'm still very much at the beginning of this, and just my adult brain saying, okay, you can have this little vice, but you can have a fraction of it. So if I tend to reach out for like a whole cigarette, I decide to have a few puffs and then I'll get rid of it, you know? Or if I really want some chocolate and I'm really struggling to like not go for the chocolate, I'll just break off a little piece, and take it in. Now that's very easily said than done. Most of the time I just bring the whole bar and eat the whole lot, but I'm trying not to sit there and be really guilty about it. I'm trying to tell myself, okay, that was a bad decision, but I'm only one step back. I'm not back to the start. And oftentimes with resolutions, people will quite commonly set themselves like a healthy eating resolution, for example, and the second you fall off it, you think, oh, that's it, that's my excuse now, I don't have to bother. And I'm back to square one. Well, it's not. You've done, you know, like you say, mid-February, you've done 6 weeks of really, really good work. One bad decision is not going to undo all of that. You just, you've got to think about why you set that resolution and keep walking forwards. And that's what I keep imagining. I'm trying to put my brain in the I'm walking forwards, not running after a wagon that's going at full speed and I've got to stay on it. Because that's the imagery I get. When people say off the wagon, I think of a rickety old wagon pulled by a horse and me falling off it and watching it go off in the distance. And that's a weird mentality to have. Whereas thinking of myself walking down a little yellow brick road and like 1 step back, 2 steps forward, that kind of shit.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think you're right as well. You can't be too. You can be strict with yourself, but don't be spiteful to yourself and don't be harsh about it.
It's also a really hard time of year anyway with diet culture. This January month sucks. Like, everyone comes in, everyone talks about it, and sometimes you just don't want to hear it, do you? And like, you know, we're all doing it in our own way and we're all trying to be healthy or whatever, and everyone, like anyone you speak to, and then you just constantly like, oh, you shouldn't eat that, or oh, I haven't eaten this and this and this because of this. And it's just so hard because sometimes like, are you judging me? Like, are you bringing me into your story?
Exactly.
Or like, it is really
and
tough,
Facebook as well. All you get is fucking Noom adverts as well.
Diet adverts and do this.
It's like, you don't have to go on a diet. You try Noom.
I grew up in the 90s. I have a terrible experience with like 90s diet culture. I wasn't a fat kid, but I was a chubby kid. And I remember my mother sending me to school once with like Slim Fast in my lunchbox, and I was like 8 years old. And like everyone else opened their lunchboxes to find like sandwiches and crisps and fruit and chocolate bar, and I opened mine. It was literally a Slim Fast like carton. Wow. And
I think a lot of the time as well, when it's family, they're not. It's a reflection on them, so they don't want you to lose weight because you'll be healthier. They want you to lose weight because they don't want to be seen as the person that has a fat kid or a fat relative. And I think, you know, there's quite a lot of that goes round. And when you're a child, you don't see it that way necessarily. You just think you're doing something bad or you need to be punished, and you've got this horrible lunch compared to everyone else because you've got a slightly bigger body. And I think, you know, parents as well, they need to remember, especially when you're a teenager, I do not know one teenager who has grown consistently upwards and outwards at the same time. It tends to be they will sprout up and be absolute string beans for a few years, or they will sprout outwards and they'll be bigger than everyone else for a few years, and then they'll get the growth spurt upwards or outwards, and it all evens out in the wash. So to even consider making suggestions about somebody's weight who's not fully developed, and when fully developed I mean like 21, 22, because, you know, you still see like early tweens that are still beanpoles, and you can tell that they're not fully developed. But so to make a comment or a suggestion, if they're not drastically over or underweight, and obviously there's going to be exceptions because, you know, if somebody is obese or if somebody is very, very underweight, then they do need help. But if it's just something in slightly one direction or the other, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, they don't need suggestions, they don't need comments, they don't need so-called encouragement. It will probably even out in the wash, and if it doesn't, it's up to them to do something about it, whether they want to or not.
I'm a firm believer in lead by example. As someone who has struggled with their weight their entire life, and people and well-meaning family members who pull me aside and have a conversation about, you know, I'm worried about your weight, I'm worried about your health. That's two different things. Health and weight are two separate things. You could be skinny and unhealthy, you can be overweight and healthy. I understand that being overweight is an unhealthy thing, but it might be that I'm dealing with something else. And something that a lot of people forget to consider is that oftentimes excess weight is not necessarily the product of, in most places, significant excess weight, is oftentimes not the product of someone who is happy or who has had an easy, happy life, in my experience anyway. So people who comment on weight and make assumptions about people's weight, I would ask them to stop and consider why their body has gotten to that point. We all have our vices, we all have our things to lean on, and oftentimes I think about my excess weight as me carrying my kind of trauma and baggage, because every time I've been upset, I've eaten, and then that food goes onto my body, and then I carry that trauma around with me every day. I can't just leave it at home and go to the shops without it. I have to carry it everywhere I go. So when I explain it to people, I often say my weight is kind of the last thing in the domino stack. Like, I need to go further back. What is the reason for it? Why do I struggle to address it? Why do I struggle to live a happy, healthy life? What am I getting from food that I should be getting from healthier sources? And that goes for food and drugs as well. Like, I know I'm dealing with like addiction issues and stuff like that. So yeah, I say to anyone if you're concerned about someone you know and love, who you're concerned about their weight, you're concerned about their health, I would say to you, you're not going to get anywhere telling them, because they've heard it. They hear it from themselves daily. Every time they look in the mirror, they hear it. The best thing you can do is lead by example. Think about your own life. Think about ways that you can improve your life, make it healthier. It might be that you're physically quite a fit person, but you don't have a lot of happy social relationships around you. It might be that you are someone who physically is in good condition, but maybe mentally needs to, do some work. Lead by example. Focus on your own stuff to improve, and then share your success with the person that you're concerned about, in the hope that you inspire them. And if you do, say to them, I'm going out for a walk, would you like to join me? You've just helped them go for a walk without it making it feel like charity. It's not like, I'll go to the gym with you, because that's fucking depressing.
Or I'll take you to the gym.
I'll take you to the gym. Like I'm a toddler and I need someone. The thing stopping me from going to the gym was having someone take me. It's exhausting. Yeah.
I was doing 2 nights a week with a personal trainer before Christmas, and I think that's possibly one of the culprits that led to having a bit of a nervous breakdown. Well, it wasn't a bit of a nervous breakdown. I had a nervous breakdown. In old-fashioned terms, because they don't call it that anymore. They call it a mentee bee now.
Mentee bee.
But yeah, I think that was part of when I was trying to do something healthy and productive for myself, and actually it backfired and I took on too much. And that made me feel shit about things, like a complete failure, when what I should have done was, rather than being yelled at for an hour. And my trainer is lovely, she's brilliant, she's an absolutely brilliant trainer, but her ideas of exercise and having fun are different. If she'd have said to me, do you fancy going to the beach and having a kickabout, that would have been exercise and I would have enjoyed it and it would have been fine. If she'd have said to me, do you fancy teaching me how to rollerblade on the prom, great, that's exercise, and it's exercise in disguise, and I wouldn't have even noticed. So I think
you got to be tricked into it.
I don't think even being tricked into it. I think it's just finding something that you enjoy that's active, and you're not doing it because you need to get exercise. You're doing it because you want to do it.
No, totally. I totally get that.
I fell down an absolute YouTube hole over the holiday, and that was watching people make these tiny, like, dollhouse scenes and these little dioramas and everything. And, like, that's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And it must
Is it Nerdforge you were watching them on?
Nerdforge is one of them, and there's a couple more channels. Actually, I'll share them with you. But some of them are just, it's so time consuming, and you just know, like, some of these people haven't got that many followers either, and they haven't got Patreon, so you know that they're making it purely for the joy of making it. And it's just so relaxing to watch. And yeah, so I think maybe doing something like that, but yeah, always something with your hands, so your hands aren't occupied with crisps.
Yes. But yeah, it really helps to distract yourself. So with your New Year's resolution, if there is anything that you're really struggling with these first couple of weeks, just remember, give yourself a break. It's supposed to be hard, and keep yourself distracted.
And it's also a stressful time of year, isn't it? New Year. I mean, there's a lot of people that, so, it's easy to look forward to the year ahead and try and make a plan and, make a checklist of all these things you want to achieve. But certainly on New Year's Eve as well, it can be quite a melancholy time. As soon as that clock strikes 12, you're saying goodbye to a year, and you could be saying goodbye to people that are no longer with you. You've left them in that year, and, people can think it's now a life without these people, or God, that year was hard, and I didn't think it would get any harder than 2020, and yet it was. What's this year going to bring? And it's really hard to, it's really easy to fall into that trap as well. But if you are struggling with New Year anxiety, it's just another day. You're not leaving anyone anywhere. They're still with you. You're not, just because it isn't New Year, we're not going to have new problems. It's just as much as we might have a worse year, we might have a better year.
I'm a big 30 this year, lads.
My God.
Mate!
You old crow.
You gonna have a party?
I don't know. Like, I feel like I need to do something, but I'm just too.
You
like,
definitely do. My
Yeah.
30th birthday was in 2020, December 2020. So we were in
Whoa.
lockdown. That was my 30th. I didn't have a party for my birthday. Nothing.
We'll have to do a joint one for you
Yeah.
both.
Well, we're doing Japan, aren't we, next year? And that's in
Yeah.
aid of our birthdays.
Big birthdays.
I can just see it now. You'll get to Japan. You'll do all of that. You'll get into like your little pod hotels. You'll put your bags down. You'll lay down. You go, oh, I'm done. Are you done, Candy?
Should we just stay in bed?
Yeah.
I like the idea that you'll just take full advantage of like all the technology to have as much food delivered to you as possible.
Oh, yes.
But you've got to go to the koi carp sanctuary.
Oh, absolutely.
Where like I have to do that. That looks amazing.
I think before we move on, we should probably explain our lack of fourth member. SuperNattyCat has had a extreme case of a technological breakdown, so unfortunately she won't be joining us. Jupiter, do you have a woman of note throughout history?
I do, and in fact, I quickly noted.
Did you have the Chinese pirate woman?
That is literally who we're going to do today.
Yay! I've been looking forward to this one.
So, oh god, put me on the. This is me scribbling notes. Dear listener, I forgot to do this until 3 minutes before recording. So, whilst
That's not
everyone
like
was chatting, I scribbled down some notes. So,
Hit me with them scribbles. Hit me with that scribble
so-
stick.
pirate, a female pirate, successful female pirate, called Ying Shi. Right, no, Shai Yang. I've got 3 different names from 3 different sources.
Right.
Just how to say her name. I say Shi Yang is what she was born as, so we'll call her that. And she was a really successful pirate in history. So she married, she was born in South China in 1775 and later married. And when her husband died, she took over his confederation, which was a big fleet. And she was a pirate CEO
Nice.
of this enormous fleet from 1801 to 1810. In that time, she was comparable. The fleet that she managed and she led is comparable to Google for the amount of people that they employed. She employed about 40 to 60,000 people under her red flag fleet.
My God.
That's how many. And because they were so accomplished and strategic, she was a master strategist, that she often went toe-to-toe with companies like the East India Company. They would go to wars and do negotiations, and she had real power behind that fleet, and she had real weight as well. Once they were finally caught, she was able to do some sort of a plea bargain that meant that her and her new husband, which was her ex-husband's adopted son.
Oh,
So she married
keeping
her
it in the family.
ex-husband's adopted son, yes. Well, she married him, but it was so that her and her husband could keep a lot of fleet, so they ended up doing some sort of deal, so they managed to keep it. But yeah, I thought she was pretty incredible for what she did there. I probably, if I had done more notes, I would have a few examples of some of the stories.
Well, you can always put a link in Discord as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me on to my traditional segue for a little bit of pimping. Smash That Glass is a Modern Escapism network production. We currently have a lineup of 4 regular podcasts, which includes our main show, Modern Escapism, Do Dragons Dream of Scorched Sheep, which is a live D&D playthrough podcast, and Deep Dive Lounge, which is a bite-sized 30-minute podcast hosted by Oodles, and I think its 2nd season is dropping imminently, sometime in the near future. So that's going to be a fun one to listen to. He does the same 10 questions of his guests every episode. If you head over to modernescapism.co.uk, you'll find all of our social links, our contact details, and as I previously mentioned, our Discord. And our Discord is a lovely, lovely, supportive place. So for £7.50 a month plus VAT, you'll find all 4 of our podcasts, plus any specials, ad-free, a few days early, and in our case, completely uncensored. Although we've been quite tame, haven't we, today?
We've been very deep.
Yeah, we have.
We've both been to therapy.
But anyway, you'll find it as part of the Biggie Bundle on Patreon. So that's at least 11 podcasts per month. And if you're a new listener, I urge you to check out our sister podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you usually listen to your podcast. I should also mention, and I never do, we're on YouTube. So if you want to see our stunningly gorgeous faces, but please don't be intimidated because we are just that hot, you can find us on YouTube.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. I'm looking at myself now, and boy, do I see a ginger haystack.
I actually had to dye my hair red to match the rest of the girls. I was getting left out.
It's Copper Corner over here.
We are a bunch of ginger minges. So our main topic today is being led by AcidxPearl.
Wow.
And I want to know who you've brought us.
I have brought us, and I'm going to apologise now. I have listened to how they say it, but I may also get the wrong name. But it's Naoko Takeuchi. And she is a renowned manga artist and writer, most famously known for creating Sailor Moon, which is one of my favourites. I'm literally obsessed and have been since the 90s. So it just felt right to talk about her.
Absolutely.
Just because she's done so much, really. So I'm sure like almost everyone has at least heard of Sailor Moon, and it doesn't need an intro. However, for those that don't know the premise of the show, it's about an average 14-year-old schoolgirl, Serena, who becomes the magical crime-fighting soldier of Justice Sailor Moon. The antics follow Serena, or Usagi, and her group of friends who realise they are reincarnated people of the moon whose duty is to protect the Milky Way from evil. Sailor Moon changed the magical girl, if we will, genre, because before Sailor Moon it was mainly a female protagonist, and she'd always have a sort of special ability or be able to sing, or she'd wear like really fancy clothes, but with the expectation that they'd eventually lose it to become a good wife or a mother, or it's not long lived. So Sailor Moon did change this, because for the first time ever she had a solid group of females that all actually supported each other, and they weren't pitted against each other. They used their power to fight evil and kick ass. Serena would also have, for that time, like traits that weren't like typically female. She was lazy, she loved to overindulge in eating, and she didn't wasn't really academically excited about school. So that was really nice to see. And she actually, like Naoko said, she made sure she wouldn't have old men tell her how she should write stories for young women. Good. Like she she drew like on all her things that she'd done in her life and like personal stories. So it was always like women, the girls sharing each other's like stories and gossip and how they'd sort of overcome things together as a group rather than singly. Also, Sailor Moon's love interest, Darien, also goes to save Sailor Moon in quite a lot of the episodes, but he actually is normally the other way around, and it's normally Sailor Moon then saving him, and it's like he's just a good sport about it, and he actually doesn't like show that his feelings are ever damaged by this, so that was a breath of fresh air. She also wrote a LGBTQ plus couple with Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune.
Oh, why did she call it Sailor Uranus, though?
Yes, she did.
Why did it have to be that?
But they are very iconic in the scene. A lot of like people have also said like that was their awakening, or just seeing that in front of them was amazing. But actually, I didn't know this, like, because I just watched it as a kid and you don't really think about it. But when they brought it to America and they dubbed it, they were actually strangely close cousins. But most people obviously then picked up on it. Like, no, there's no way these guys are cousins. But that's because back then America was like, we're not having a lesbian couple in a kids show.
God.
And that was literally so
they were more comfortable with cousins.
Yeah, first cousins being in love, but
then gay. Yeah.
And yet, I think traditionally, and things are changing, but I think traditionally America was a little bit more open, certainly sooner than Japan has been, to same-sex relationships and stuff, because Japan, for all their excellent traits, I think they are, or that certainly they were at that time, maybe a little bit behind when it came to acceptance. And I think a lot of that is portrayed, like you said, in different animes in the way that women are portrayed, certainly, but it was very rare to find any same-sex relationships or anything. So she was certainly kind of bucking the trend. Yeah, in that sense.
So ahead of her time, and just literally putting out everything she wanted to put out and not being afraid to put it out there, it was pretty insane. But I didn't know this as well, and I just thought it was a nice little interesting fact about her, because she obviously always wanted to be a professional manga artist. However, in case that didn't work out, she does have a degree in chemistry, and she became a licensed pharmacist. So she could have been your little pharmacist instead of like blowing up the world with Sailor Moon.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I'm just trying to think. I want to say, I don't know if it's the same woman. I don't think it is, because I think I would know that she also did Sailor Moon. But I think the manga artist for Full Metal Alchemist is a woman too.
Ooh.
I would have to check, but I'm pretty sure
That's cool.
that was it shocked quite a lot of people when they found out that was written by a woman. So yeah, really, really excellent choice.
Yeah, I do have another lady of note, just a very small one.
Hit us.
To mention, and it was Caroline Marchal, and she actually just won the Games Award for
Yes,
we know where we're going with this.
I knew that name.
Yes, sorry, she won the Game Award for Impact Game with her game As Dust Falls. Also currently available on Games Pass, just so we know, and it's a multiplayer, and you can play it in a lobby of up to 8 people, online or locally. So I think, because I haven't played yet, I've seen trailers, and it looks very fun.
Is that the one where it's kind of not freeze frame, but like frame? It's not actually animated. It's just frames, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure.
Yeah. So I have seen people say sort of they might have struggled at first, but once you're into it, they just love it, because it's just, it looks different to how most other games look. It's a narrative game that takes you through the lives of 2 people's families that became entangled when a robbery goes wrong, and it allows you to play multiplayer, obviously, like I said. So it sounds
like
very
it's sort of
fun.
choose your own adventure.
Yeah, and
Jupiter, you should play that with us, because it sounds like it's a game without actually being a game.
Yeah, if it's like a puzzle type game, I'm in. But if it's like a shooty bang bang,
I think it's literally a choose your own adventure.
It's literally like, I think it'll be the same as when we all played The Quarry. I think probably one person has control and the rest of us just get to vote, and then the majority vote wins. So like multi-choice, we all put it down what we want, and then it goes with whatever the most popular answer was, which I think will be really fun. But she was actually like in her 30s whilst pregnant with her second child when she decided to jump from Sony and make her own studio, which is Interior Night, in 2017. And she literally said to her, she just said, like, it just felt like it was now or never. Like how incredible is that?
That takes some serious balls as well. Not only to leave Sony, to leave a well-established company and go and set up for your but doing it whilst you're pregnant as well.
Yeah,
and thinking
with your
about
second child, so you've got 2 children depending on you, and obviously, it's just brilliant. She smashed that glass.
She did smash that glass. Good for her. I'm really glad it worked out for her. And yes, we'll play it. We'll play it. That sounds fun.
We'll stream it.
I have something to add, and it's not necessarily a woman of note.
Oh.
But
Are you jumping in on my episode?
No, it's.
I'm joking.
I have a game to recommend that I have played. And look how excited you both are.
I really am.
I absolutely love my VR. My VR, it's Gadgets VR.
Yeah,
but,
the VR that's in the house.
His is mine. It's in the house and I use it exclusively. He doesn't really use it. But I absolutely love it. I played a lot of like escape room games on there, and some really other like cool kind of VR games. There isn't a lot of choice yet. It's still very new, but I enjoy a lot of the puzzle games. But probably one of my favourite games to play, and I got for Christmas a little bit of a late Christmas present, the second version of the game, which I've just played, and then as soon as I finished it, immediately restarted it and played it again. That's how much I loved it. Moss. Have you heard of Moss?
I've not heard of Moss, I don't think.
So Moss is about oh my gosh, you guys would love it. It's about a tiny little white mouse called Quill, and she lives in a little town or country called Moss, and she finds a piece of glass, and it's very Lord of the Rings kind of vibe. So she finds a bit of glass, and it's like a bit of glass that's linked to an ancient power, and then she has to help her uncle, who was part of the last time the battle happened, and help her uncle to get the glass to the right people and defeat the big bad. That's kind of the idea. And then book 2 came out, which is kind of the other half of the fight, and I've just finished book 2 and I loved it so much I played it back through again. But you are a tiny little mouse and you're running through like gardens and you're climbing up walls and you're it's just everything's a lot bigger. It's so pretty, and because it's VR, if you look up, like there are times where I just stop and take in the scenery because as I look around, I'm like in the Alps with like the northern lights above me, and
so cool.
it's beautiful and it's cute and adorable, and you high five her, give her a little high five, so just like a little dance and stuff after she's defeated something. Little mouse hands, yeah, she's so cute, and her ears flop as well, so when she gets scared, her ears go back like airplanes. And it's really cute. It's a lot of fun. It is. Basically, it's Sylvanian families crossed with Lord of the Rings. If you imagine Lord of the Rings starring Sylvanian family characters, that is pretty much what you're getting. But it's all in VR, so you just I sit on the sofa and just play along. But hours will pass me, and I won't even realise. I absolutely love that game.
Yeah.
So
It's a very different experience playing games in VR.
I think it's better for me because I get so easily distracted by stuff in the room that a VR means that I can't quickly look at my phone while I'm waiting for like the next thing to load.
See,
I have to just
struggle
be
a bit with
immersed in
VR.
it.
It makes me feel, and I don't know if it's just because when I did like on candies, although like I think you put like a nice little like water dolphin one on, but it just makes me feel really, maybe if I stood up, maybe if I sat down I'd feel better. Like I just felt so like, oh no, I just felt so claustrophobic.
It can be very overwhelming. I think another reason you might, or Jupiter might find VR easier, and this is kind of related to something that I did over Christmas as well, and that's that my mum played her and completed her first game, which I'll go on to in a second. But the challenge, and I really wanted to play this game with her because it's one of my favourite games. It's only a couple of hours long, and I thought it's a nice experience. But the thing that I didn't take into account for was when it said, right, press X to jump. She's then having to look down and see which button X is, or even just like using the right stick to control the camera and the left stick to control your movement, which just comes natural when you're just, you've been playing forever, you know where the buttons are. It's an extra step of having to look down and see what buttons are there and finding on with your fingers, because you don't have that muscle memory, finding where it is on the remote, whereas on the controller, whereas when you're doing VR, it's very much centered towards what you're touching in front of you, what you're touching in screen, or you've got the controllers, they just the one sort of clicker kind of thing. So I think it's a lot more intuitive if you are new to gaming to be able to jump into VR easier.
Yeah,
I did get the hang of it because I played It Takes Two with Gadget.
I really want to play that.
In the year.
I finally downloaded it over Christmas because I've wanted it for ages.
The pair of you have. I want to watch you two play it.
We will fall out.
We will.
Well, it was actually a bit of a marriage counselling type moment for Gadget and I, because we realised, because of COVID, we had spent so much time together that throughout COVID we were like, right, we're stuck in the house together, let's think of things to keep ourselves distracted, because we were working from home, obviously both live together, we don't have kids to distract us, so yeah, it was a case of like, we need to figure out a way to have lives outside of each other. And then we went a little bit too far that way, had nothing in common, so we had to come back again, and we sort of sat and played that for about a week, after, in the evenings together or at the weekends. And it helped with our communication, because he would run off, because he's the confident gamer, he would run off and go and solve something, but he couldn't solve the puzzle until I got there. But what was annoying is he solved the puzzle visually and then told me what to do, and I'm like, well, you're sucking all the fun out of it for me. So he had to walk with me, he had to reach the puzzle with me, he had to work it out with me, and him kind of being more patient and me being a little bit more gracious in my inability, because I would get frustrated. That was us meeting in the middle.
Yeah, it was Journey I played with my mum, and I thought it would be the perfect game and a perfect kind of shared experience, because it's one of my favourite games, and I've said it plenty of times before on Modern Escapism. And it's only 2 hours long, and you can't really die, and it's literally just a case of getting from one area to the next, which for a seasoned gamer is simple. But it's not when you haven't really played a game before. And yeah, just as I was saying before, just, it's learning to be patient with somebody who doesn't know the controls or doesn't know the obvious cues that are in a game to go and explore this one thing.
I could imagine your eyes like burning through because I get that burning feeling sometimes. I'm like,
You see where that thing's sparkling in the distance is trying to catch your eye? Does that give you a freaking clue?
I was trying so hard to be patient with her because I really wanted her to enjoy the experience. And if you read into Journey, or it's kind of, I mean, it's an open thing. You make of it what you will, and you translate the things to mean whatever it means to you. So Journey's obviously different journey, literally, to everyone that plays it. But I wanted her to pay attention to what was going on, and I wanted her to know her thoughts about it at the end, which meant that she actually had to get to the end without losing focus or feeling disheartened with it. So yeah, that was a bit of a test for me too. But she did do it. I had to help her with a few bits. Yeah, she enjoyed it. And what I did afterwards as well was played her the theme tune from Journey, because it's all in different languages. It's in Latin, and it's in French and Spanish, and it's in Gaelic, I think, and it's basically kind of the story of Journey. It's a really, really beautiful song, and it's a beautiful game, and it kind of epitomizes what I love in indie games, and I wanted her to be able to experience it with me so that she would understand what it is I love about gaming, what it makes it special to me, and to be able to share it with her, and just a bit of a kind of bonding experience, and just for her to understand what's so special about it.
That's super cute.
Yeah, it was really, really nice.
You actually recommended that to me during lockdown, and I played it. And obviously, you might get random people, and I didn't realise at first it's another player, and we just stuck together. And like, honestly, I was just weeping by the end, because it was just so we were so isolated at that time as well. It's just it is a beautiful game.
But yeah, no, really good. We went off on a bit of a tangent there, but it doesn't matter. It's our podcast. We do what we want. But I think with our lack of SuperNattyCat, we have an AcidxPearl doing our feedback for us.
I'm sorry, my voice isn't as cute as Natty's. You've got to listen to the babber.
Can you do a Welsh accent for us?
I can't do that. No. So, it was my week to ask a question for feedback. And my question was, how do you feel about the way women are traditionally portrayed in anime, and is that changing? I've got one from Jack Chambers Ward. And he says, it's a barrier for me for many shows. It's also the main reason my wife won't watch anime. I find the uniquely bizarre combination of prudishness and over-sexualization both endlessly fascinating and very uncomfortable. Most anime has a lot of progress to make, in my opinion, and I also would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oodle says, unfortunately, I feel like women in anime are more or less the same as they were in the 80s. And I'm talking traditional Japanese anime, not the new Western Renaissance.
Renaissance, yeah.
Of anime, drawn in Japan, written by the West. The nature of Japan's relationship with relationships in general speaks volumes to the portrayal of women. One day it will get better, and it's what you spoke on earlier, isn't it? It's just, they're just behind, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Xenos says, honestly, I don't watch enough anime to feel like I can effectively judge it. Most of what I've been watching has been fairer towards the female characters, but it's such a narrow slice of the whole that I have no idea what's really going on outside of it. And we got a big one for Stig, so here we go. Thank you.
Oh, well, it's only fair that we give Stig a big one.
We'll give you a big one, Stig. So Stig says, I don't watch vast amounts of anime, but there is definitely a subsection where women are too sexualized with huge comedy boobs and bums and drawn for people to just fantasize and simp over, and I find it really odd. What I also find odd, and this is very prevalent, This is so bad. I feel like I'm that kid reading in English. Why have you made me do this? Within anime gaming,
You're gonna run home crying to mum
honestly.
because you were made to
They
read
made
in
me
class
read.
today.
Within anime gaming is where they are drawn young and given young characteristics and personalities, but meant to be over 18. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but even if your character is over the age of consent, having them act and sound like a 14-year-old girl is just really creepy and wrong. I just can't
And
bring...
14's one of the older ones.
Yeah, they're called lollies, aren't they? I think there's an actual
Yeah.
term for it.
From Lolita.
Ah, okay.
It's Lolita is a book where the
I-
main character
yes.
falls in love with somebody underage.
I just can't bring myself to play anime games because of this. I'm not opposed to nudity in anime, I just think it needs to be done in the right context. I think in Edge Runners it worked fine because of the type of game Cyberpunk is, and the nudity within the game meant that they could get away with it in the show. But when you're showing Chun-Li naked in the shower in Street Fighter, it's just done for... I'm sorry, it's just so funny, isn't it? It's just done for pure titillation, and I think it's just weird and pointless. Why isn't Gullies, I'm guessing, hanging dong for the ladies in return? However, on the flip side, you do get shows like Attack on Titan where, yes, the women are still drawn to look pretty, but they also have urgency. They're strong, they're kick-ass, they have their own character. Focus backstories and are more than just a pretty face. Every single woman in Attack on Titan has something to do. They don't just take a back seat in the male leads. Mikasa and Hangi are both amazing characters, and when another female character was killed off last year, I almost cried.
Yeah, that's a really good shout, actually. I forgot about Attack on Titan.
He also said, then you have anime that's just pure in heart, like Studio Ghibli, that shows you exactly how to do wonderful young teen female leads without the need to sexualize them. Basically, I think there's an issue of over-sexualizing women in anime, especially in gaming, but you can look at stuff like Attack on Titan or Castlevania and find amazing, strong women and admire them for their qualities and not feel creepy about doing so.
Well, the thing is, Castlevania actually is an American show. It's just drawn in the anime style. So, yeah, I mean, it depends what you would class as anime, whether it has to be from Japan or not. I think, actually, Studio Ghibli is an interesting one because I would not necessarily class that as traditional anime. I would say that's more of a... I mean, it is anime on the face of it, but could you...
Disney anime.
Yeah, I mean, could you really lump it in with things like Akira and Minion Tank Police and Sailor Moon and stuff? It's almost a subsection within itself.
Like it's grown up.
Yeah, exactly, and that's certainly, you don't see the female characters with the skimpy outfits or anything in Ghibli, but then you don't see like the action sequences and traditional other anime aspects.
Yeah.
So I would hot take, I wouldn't call Ghibli anime. I think if you were to look into it, I think it's its own thing. It needs a new name. We'll just call it Ghibli.
Is it not like a Cornish pasty where you can't call it a Cornish pasty unless it's made in
Oh yeah, from corn.
Corn.
It's corn!
In Cornwall. It's corn.
A big
It's
lump
corn.
of lumps, it has the juice.
It has the juice. It has the juice. Can imagine a more beautiful thing. Oh my god, I haven't listened to that for a while. But you can't call it a Cornish pasty unless it's made in Cornwall. You can't call it feta unless it's made in Greece or made a particular way. Like, there are certain protected terms, so surely anime is a protected term, and unless it's a particular form of cartoon made in Japan, then it can be called anime. But if an American takes it and makes it in their studios in America, they can't call it anime.
Japanese style animation, maybe.
Yeah, like they can't. They have to call it salad cheese instead of feta.
Exactly.
And I don't care if it's a different name. It does taste different. I feel like when I have feta, it tastes like feta. When I have salad cheese, it tastes like tofu.
Oh yeah. But going back, I think it was Zenos that said it. Or it might have been Stig, but whoever said that they're not talking about animation that's been based off something Japanese for like the westernized version.
I think that was Stig.
Like Arcane, for example, is a Chinese IP, and but it was a Western studio, it was a French studio that did the animation for it, and they drastically changed Jinx's outfit from her outfit in League of Legends. I forgot what it was called then. But yeah, she's got, she's barely wearing anything, and at least in Arcane, she's got the old kind of capri pants on rather than just like hot pants.
Oh, but I love those hot pants on Jinx. This is my problem because I mean, I have her there in her pants actually, but you kindly painted some lovely more stuff to her. But like I always say like, oh, I hate seeing it, and like rah rah rah, and then I'll play like new Genesis, and I'm like, give me all the skimpy outfits for my character. Like I just can't help myself. But that's my choice.
But there isn't a problem with that if there is a choice. That's,
yeah.
If you've got a choice, all we want is the choice to be able to wear what we want, not be forced into wearing like the traditional. The better the armor is, the skimpier the outfit.
Bullshit.
If you're forced into wearing that, no, fuck you. If you're wearing it by choice, or like my character in ESO, you're covered head to toe in big old bulky armor. We got the choice there. We could do what we want, and that's all we ask.
Yes, I agree. There's also one from Gadgets. So Gadget says, for me, I've always thought anime has a weird approach to women, usually in how they're drawn, designed. Writers have been capable of making kick-ass, powerful female characters for years. Look at Major and Ghost in the Shell. But far too often they're drawn to appeal to men, boys, rather than appeal to girls, women, as strong role models. Then things can just get pervy. The way anime designers seem to focus on making female characters look younger and younger creeps me out, and hypersexualization of teenagers kind of puts me off. For example, look at Anne Takamaki in Persona 5. Did I say it right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Sure, I don't know.
She's 16 in the game. In her school day outfit, she looks fine. They dress her in leggings, a skirt and a jacket top. She looks like a normal teenager. But when they go into the other world for the dungeon crawling bit of the game, they put her in a red skin-tight catsuit, complete with a devil tail, ears, and cleavage. It's just not right. There's so many examples within anime, manga, and Japanese videos of teenagers or youngers being sexualized, and it just makes me uncomfortable. Which, it's very true.
A wild SuperNattyCat has arrived. Welcome back. Hello.
What's new, pussycat?
So we have one more bit of feedback, and then I want to hear your thoughts. So what's our last bit of feedback, AcidxPearl?
So Robotic Monkey says, it's easy to look superficially at anime and think that it's all squeaky high-pitched maidens with massive cans who all need saving, but perhaps this is just another example of how the internet spoils everything. Just before Christmas, I sat down with my daughter and we watched Kiki's Delivery Service. Partway through the film, she turned to me and said, "Can I be like her when I'm her age?" Oh. Because it's so pure, so that's a lovely one. But we also did touch on Ghibli earlier, so... But that's nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And, SuperNattyCat, I just want to know your thoughts on how women are portrayed, and do you have any thoughts on Sailor Moon and the writing for Sailor Moon? Because we learned earlier that it was written by a woman.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that. So I grew up watching, so my first animes were Sailor Moon, Pokemon. I don't know if you can class Totally Spies, because it was drawn in an anime kind of
more
way,
just
wasn't
animation,
it?
yeah.
But certainly Sailor Moon and Pokemon. But even in Pokemon, you had like the nurse, like Nurse Joy.
Yeah.
And who was the other one? There was the nurse and the policewoman.
Policewoman, yeah, I was gonna say.
And they're very much sexualized in a very childish way, in the sense that Brock was always, I think it's Brock, isn't it? Was always like running after them and completely doting on them just because they were beautiful. You also had Sailor Moon, you had the bits that were like, they'd done it again quite nice, but the fact that like all her clothes like fly off, I don't know if you guys touched on that. No. And it was always a bit like, but and then if you sort of flash forwards a little bit, you've still got it now. So there was an anime that I watched probably about 4 or 5 years ago called High School of the Dead, and it's about zombies taking over high school. And it's quite gritty because it's very you don't know who's going to die sort of thing, a lot of these survival anime. And unfortunately it's incredibly sexualized. These kids are like 15 years old, there's upskirt shots, There's even a naked
Ooh.
scene in a bathroom when they've all got their boobs out and they're poking each other's
Oh,
boobs and the boys are
what?
trying to look through the door. What was another one? I love Future Diary. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. It's one of my favourite animes ever. But there's a bit when her bikini flies off in a water park, and it's all very hush hush because she just sort of hugs onto her boyfriend at the time because she's obsessed with him. And she's like, "Don't let anybody see me." But then he's getting turned on because her boobs are touching his bare back. So it's like, ah. So even like someone's feedback,
Trained
I
for
can't remember whose it
this.
was, but someone's feedback said that it's very sort of like hush hush, like tongue in cheek, but then at the same time it's incredibly sexualized.
Yeah.
So Chobits is another one. Have you watched Chobits? It's
No.
about
I'm watching Overlord at the moment, and that's been exactly the same.
ooh,
Like that's just so full on. I think they're
yeah,
quite self-aware, but there are times even I do just think, oh,
yeah,
this feels uncomfortable. To like,
it's so
yeah,
so uncomfortable. Chobits is a very very innocent anime about a robot, an android who gets chucked out in the rubbish, and this lad who can't afford androids picks her up, and to turn her on, he has to find the button, and normally
Oh.
it's like on the back of the head or on the ears,
Let me guess, he
and it
can't find it.
well, he does find it, but it's only one place he hasn't touched, and you can
Oh.
imagine which one place it is. He tries the other places on the boobies, but there's one place he hasn't touched, and it's there.
Oh.
And yeah, it's really dodgy. It's a very, very lovely anime because there's very lovely bits in it. She's learning how to be a human, even though she's in a sort of a world run by humans and she's an android, so she gets treated really badly. And it touches on bits where sort of women are overly sexualized, and she's very aware of that, even though she's an android. But then it still plays into the hands of all the pervs that watch it. So by
Hmm.
doing bits like that, they didn't need to put a button there, did they, to turn her on?
no.
So
They
so
did.
yeah,
Is it comparable? Because I don't really know anime. I just it hasn't sort of gone on my radar. I've been shown what's the one with the moon face? The uh Giblet guy, Studio Giblet.
Studio
Ghibli?
Ghibli. Are you
Literally
on
okay.
like my
Totoro
neighbor
and
Totoro? Yeah.
No,
yeah.
the one that everyone loves, the one with the kind of the
Spirited
sort
Away.
of the mushroom ghost. That's it, Spirited Away.
Ah,
Yeah,
Oh, No Face as
I've been.
well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
so I've been shown that, and it was sweet. It was quite sweet. And I liked that, and I didn't realize this, but of course, Pokemon. I loved
Yeah.
Pokemon. I loved Team Rocket. That was my. I
Yes.
love Team Rocket, and my favorite Pokemon is Bulbasaur. Look at him, little
What?
flat necks. Yeah,
Nah.
it's Bulbasaur. And what were the other ones? The horses with the flames for hair. I thought they were kind of really cool as well.
Ponyta or
Yeah.
Punita, whichever
And
one
I
you
liked
say.
Side Duck, and I liked like Cheeky, the little chick thing that Misty carried around.
Okapi, so cute.
Oh
Put
Yeah,
a head with
yeah.
him up there
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. So I remember all of that, and I suppose yeah, as a kid I watched anime because I loved Pokemon, but yeah, I've never really got it as an adult. But the way you're describing it, it does sound a lot like it's kind of like Panto for us, where it's tongue in cheek, but there's adult jokes in there, but it's a show for children and for adults to understand some like high level jokes. So
Most
is
of
it
anime
is it
is actually for adults.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
oh is
most,
it?
and yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
So
for
I
children.
didn't
Like, and
know
I
that. I
always
thought it
forget
was
because
like
yeah, you do literally sit there and you think, oh shit, like this is for
so I
adults.
thought it was
But you
kind
just
of
forget 'cause
like
it's cartoon.
because it's meant to be innocent and sincere, but with these like slapstick, slightly or overly sexualized moments. It's kind of a bit like like Carry On Camping, which is all kind of really like camp, sitcom slapstick stuff, but it's all meant to be quite sincere. But it's
Yeah, I
like
can see the
the bra
similarities
flies
actually.
off. That's where I'm kind of picking up the similarities from it.
Hmm.
I think the
Yeah.
only difference is the anime unfortunately has a lot of underage.
Yeah, we
Whereas
speak about like
in
lollies
carry-ons,
and
they're adults.
Hmm.
There's no
Yes, but
yeah.
sexualizing of
Carry
children.
Ons, in Carry On, they're also misogynistic,
Yeah.
racist. Not to say one's worse than the other, but they're not entirely innocent either.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
Mm.
wonder if people are overly critical of anime because it's very obviously exploitative, which I agree. I see them and go, oh, that looks like a 12-year-old girl with, Katie Price tits. It's weird.
Yeah.
So I get that, but at the same time, it's like I'd be interested to like understand more about it so I can understand why it does that. Or why that's
Unfortunately,
part of it.
In Japan, when I went to Japan, it's fucking everywhere. So like you walk past a maid cafe, which is young women wearing tiny little outfits, nothing on show in the sense that there's no cleavage or anything like that, but they'll have a lot of leg.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, that bit between your knee and the top of your thigh is like it's a very sacred area, which is like, you know, where you'd wear your garter when you're getting married kind of thing, is very sexy in Japan. And we would walk past a maid cafe and there'd be nothing but businessmen in there.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any families. It wouldn't be like you'd see on, I think
So
Paul
it's kind
Hollywood
of like
goes
a
to one.
Hooters, is it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's not, they're
'Cause
not advertised as a
Hooters,
It's
they've
sexual
not
got-
advertised as being sexy, is
They've
it?
got
It's...
tight tops on,
Nope.
they've got their breasts, they might have the under part of their breast showing. You can see their nipples through their top. They've got really short shorts on. I'm not excusing it, but at the same time I'm trying to find like a Western equivalent because, you know,
I think
I
with...
try not to demonize it too much without understanding where our Western equivalents are.
So, on that note, we are done. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you to my co-hosts. Thank you for, as always, for all of our feedback. For all of our contact information, go to modernescapism.co.uk or check out the show notes. And we will see you next week for our last show. So I want as much feedback as possible. And we would love to hear it. So see you next episode for our final show. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.